Hey guys, just trying to get back into it. Last time we left off with prohibition. I'm gonna try to make it short and sweet this segment so I can get the video uploaded a lot faster. So moving on, the 18th and 21st Amendment, you'll recall, got rid of alcohol and brought it back. All right, now we're going to look at the 19th Amendment. This made it impossible to block voting rights based on gender. In essence, that's a fancy way of saying women finally got the right to vote. And of course, this was about time throughout history. Now, we covered early in the year how women could vote in ancient Greek democracies in some situations, but this is a wholesale movement. Women all across the nation. This will be true in England as well and will transfer throughout Europe. So this is a huge moment. All right, the next amendment, the 20th Amendment, really deals with the order of the presidency if the president is killed. So it sets when presidents, senators, representatives are sworn into office, and it also says what to do if the president is killed. So you'll see this list here. You can check it out more closely on my Haiku page. But of course, president, vice president, speaker of the House, the head of the Senate, the Secretary of State, and you see secretary of a lot of things. Attorney General runs the Justice Department. So you see that this is like the order of who would take over if everybody in front of them is incapacitated for whatever reason. All right, and you recall that the 21st Amendment did alcohol, so we're going to skip past that one. The 22nd Amendment said that the president could only last for 2 terms. This was passed in the early 50s, late 40s, early 50s. This was after Franklin Delano Roosevelt had been elected 4 times. He died in his 4th term, so he only served like 12 or 13 years of his terms. But we did have a president get elected 4 terms. This rule was passed afterward that. Okay, so this allowed Washington, D.C., the 23rd Amendment allowed Washington, D.C. to have votes in the Electoral College, giving them a voice in our presidential election for the first time. Okay, the 24th got rid of poll taxes. As I mentioned when we covered the 13th Amendment and 14th and 15th Amendment, one of the ways that whites in the South tried to keep blacks from voting was to add a price to vote. This ensures that every citizen can vote regardless of their economic status. So poll taxes pay to vote. The 25th Amendment is never been used. This is a way to remove the president if he or she is incapacitated for whatever reason. It could be something like a mental illness. It could be something like cancer. There have been times where, like, Woodrow Wilson was in the hospital for a few weeks and his vice president and his wife took over. Reagan was shot in the 80s. The vice president took over. This sets kind of what to do if the president is incapacitated but does not need to be removed. Now, it is possible to remove a president by their cabinet and by their vice president. Obviously, the president appoints the members of the cabinet and chooses the vice president, so it's extremely unlikely. We'd have to reach a very serious situation where, a president's trying to launch a nuclear attack against the advice of everybody before they would, institute something like this. All right, the 26th and 27th. The 26th Amendment gave you guys the right to vote as soon as you turn 18 years old. Okay, so it's the 18-year-old, and so you should notice my little button there, old enough to fight, old enough to vote. If you can go off to war, you can vote in our elections. And the 27th Amendment simply states that if Congress gives themselves a raise, it doesn't take effect until after the next election. So in other words, they can't give themselves a raise unless they win the next election, for them personally. It'll take effect for whatever congressman will win the following election. So Congress can't go in there and say, let's vote to give ourselves a raise right now, and in essence cash in on being a congressman. That's it for this little segment. Thanks, guys.